Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Alex. Hi, everybody.
So, welcome to the Be Sober podcast, everyone. Again, I've
Oh,
tried.
welcome for the first time. If
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the
it could be the
first time
first
you've ever
time.
seen us,
Well,
you've
I hope
got a
they've never.
lot of catching up to do.
I hope they've not seen the last three episodes where I was dressed and looked like crap. The same because it was the same day, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know, but I've also had to sit here for 15 minutes watching you sort yourself out for this
I
one.
know.
I'm
Putting my
like this,
earrings
I'm
in.
ready to finish now.
Well, I put my earrings in, which nobody can see. I don't know why I feel like I have to put them in, but I
Talking
do.
about earrings,
Oh,
should we
yeah. Go
should
on.
we
Tell us about
discuss?
your earrings.
Yeah, look, for anybody that is viewing this, and if you're listening, then go on YouTube if you want a nosy at me ear. Can you see it?
Not really. It's a bit difficult. What number hole
Well,
was it? The third one?
yeah, we had a piercing party in February,
Was it
and
February?
my ear has hurt. This particular piercing has hurt since February. And Rob keeps saying to me, I'm going to take that out in the middle of the night because I can't lie on him properly. I
Oh, I
have
bet that's what he's done.
no, I've told him, I've asked him, he swears he haven't, hasn't. Anyway, it was really sore the other day, so much so that I actually sent you a picture and said, this is still hurting, right?
No,
Like I
no, what you
blame you
actually did
for
was
this.
showed me and said, this ear's deformed. That's what you actually did.
Yeah, well, it does have, it has had a deformity. It's going now, look, it's like evened out, but it had a big lump here. And I'm like, surely this should be all right because it was February when we had them done. And it's like, I come to you because you organised the event, I hold you
Yeah, and I'm
responsible.
like, don't freaking come to me. Go back to her and get it checked.
So I
Yeah,
sent
what's
Alex
she
a
gonna do?
picture of my ear with a deformity and said, this is still sore. So she sends me the link and says, go back to the woman that did it, right? And I was like, it's miles away for me, miles and miles and miles away. And I just couldn't be asked. Anyway, the day after, I've got up and it's completely gone, right? But there's a lump
Not the. Can I
in
just point out the ear problem hasn't gone. The earring has gone.
gone. It's gone. My ear ate my earring, or
I
so I
also want to
thought.
say, when my ear was sore and I got it checked out by the lady that did them, she
Yeah.
changed the size of the piercing. And since then, it's been amazing. So I do wish you'd have listened, but I won't say I told you so.
Yeah, but February, like what month is it now?
It can take up to 6 months for piercings to heal fully.
Yeah, that's what I've been holding on to. I keep saying to Rob, it'll be 6 months, it'll be 6 months. Anyway, the earrings vanished. My ear ate my earrings. So I rings 111, right? Because I can feel it in my ear. And I'm not one for going to the doctors or especially A&E. And they were like, you're going to have to go A&E. If you've got a foreign body in your ear, you need to go to A&E. So I was like, oh, for goodness sake. So off a trot to A&E, sat there for absolutely ages, feeling like a bit of a fraud because people go there with like serious injuries.
People also go there with nothing, though, Lisa, like nothing, nothing.
Oh, well, Alex, that people is me
No, it isn't because
because
you thought you
no,
had something.
yeah, but I didn't, did I?
Yeah,
I
but
had
some people
nothing.
know they've got nothing and still go. Some people make it a day out. You know, honestly, before you
No,
finish any
we
story,
don't. Who has a day out in
I
A&E?
swear to you, right? I was in A&E with my son. I think it was when it was when he'd come off his bike and got that cellulitis, and he was actually admitted to hospital. They cleaned it up, and he was actually admitted that night. That was quite a bad one. And I promise you, we were in the waiting room and it was packed. And there were people going, Hiya, George. Oh, hello, Hilda. How are you? Oh, I'm all right. Yeah. Just, I'm here with this one. And there's like six of them on a day trip. Promise you.
Yeah, but you know what, people, this is really funny because as I walked into A&E, there was a woman there that I knew and she went, "Hi, Lisa, you all right?" And I went, "Yeah, yeah, I'm great, you."
Yeah,
And
but
then
you're
I'm
not
like,
here. She's sat in freaking A&E.
I know I said that when I was giving birth, though. Literally had a baby coming out, and the nurse were like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, great, you."
What an idiot. We were talking, funnily enough, we were talking about giving birth the other day, right? And um, when I gave birth to Daniel, obviously I was induced and I ended up having to be catheterized because I'd had an epidural and I couldn't feel it. I needed a wee, but I couldn't do it because I had no feeling there.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I had Leah, it was beautiful. When I had Abel, I was induced again. And I was lay there and I was telling one of my clients this the other day. And I went, will you just catheterize me? And the woman went, the midwife, this is, oh, well, there's a first. Nobody's ever actually asked me to put a catheter in.
Why did you ask?
because I needed a wee and I knew I couldn't do one because the head was pushing. So I just wanted it out, not the baby. Well, I wanted the baby out, but I wanted
Oh,
the
but
wee
you knew
out.
you needed a wee at the same time?
Yeah, I could feel my bladder pushing, and I was like, "Oh, I need a wee." And she was like, "Baby will be out soon." I was like, "Will you just catheterize me?"
No.
I did.
You're so weird.
I was like well in labour though. I'd like been in for like 15 hours or something already. It was
You know, and
awful.
it's funny that we've had babies.
I was
Like, I was just looking at you telling that story then. I'm like, I can't believe that we're actual mums. Like, we've given birth
You're a
to
grandma, never
babies.
mind you're a mum.
I know, I'm a grandma. Like, my mum is a great grandma.
There was another lady in the gym before, and she was complaining about the fact that she's got a few roles and blah blah blah. And honestly, she's doing amazing. And I was like, "You've had an actual human in there. Stop complaining. An actual £10 human with all
That's
its bits has
crazy, innit?
been in. Like you've carried an extra stone in there. There's no wonder we've got a bit of loose skin. It's
You know, when you
normal."
think about it though, like having babies and stuff, like it is it's amazing.
Oh, don't start with "it's a miracle." Anyway, finish your ear
It's a
story. Go on.
miracle. Anyway, I goes to see the look. Honestly, they were so nice in A&E, I have got to say. So I saw this lovely doctor, and he had a good feel
Of the ear.
of the ear. I did actually say to him, right, because he felt it and he was like, you know what? I don't think there's anything in there. I went, please have a good feel. And he was like, oh, he said, don't say that when I'm so close to you. Anyway, what he did is he shined a torch through it. And he said, if there was metal in it, you'd be able to see the metal. And then he did get another opinion. So another doctor came, he had a good feel. And they took a picture for me to show me what they were seeing, like just to put my mind at rest that there's not an earring
It was
in
just a hole.
my ear. Yeah, but the lump is still there. Like, I swear there is still an earring in that ear. It's vanished. And I've asked Rob, I was like, come on, you said you were going to take it out in the night. And he was like, I swear to God, Lisa, I swear I have not taken that earring out. And I believe him, but I don't know where it is. It's there. You can
It's not in your ear.
look at that lump.
Yeah, but that could just be inflammation.
He said it's the gristle.
Ew.
Ew,
So,
I know.
should we talk about the thing we've been laughing at as well, which is not funny at all?
What?
Your old biddy disease.
Oh, I thought you were on about the thing I told you yesterday.
Oh no, not that.
Like, no.
No, we'll not talk about that. Sorry, everyone. You'll never know what that is. Move on.
So I've got ailments, right? I'm turning into an old biddy. This is what I'm thinking.
For anyone
I
who doesn't
messaged
know
Alex.
Littleborough slang, an old biddy is like an old person.
So yeah, so I've got what's it called? I sent you the details of.
Oh, I can't remember now, but something tunnel.
Yeah, something. It's not carpal tunnel.
Not
because
carpal tunnel,
you
it's
don't
the other
get
one.
that
It's
in your little
basically the
finger.
nerve that runs through the ulna of your arm. So the opposite side, the outside of your
Yeah.
arm, outside of your forearm.
I think it's
It might
called
just be called ulnar tunnel.
It is called ulnar tunnel. So I've diagnosed myself with ulnar tunnel because I've got a weird feeling from my wrist all the way. It's really sore, you know. I've had to take ibuprofen each day and it's been waking me up in the night. But I told Alex I'd messaged her on Sunday and I was like, I've got
Can I read the messages, Lisa, please? It's the funniest thing because it's the tone in which. Can I read it?
Go on then.
Right, I'm going to find it.
It'll be interesting to see if the tone you read it in was the tone
the
I
tone you
sent
sent in. Honestly, but you've got to bear in mind it was Sunday night. I'm sat there watching a film and I'm all relaxed, not knowing what the hell's going on, and then I get a message out of the blue. And what did it say? Right, hold on a minute. It's still making me laugh. It's still making me laugh.
Oh, the memes you sent me last night. I was going to sleep still laughing. Honestly, I can't believe we're at our age. We send each other these memes, but they make me laugh so much. And it was one about when a kid when a kidnapper kidnaps you and your best friend, and he says "skangle" instead of "strangle," and you.
Please don't skangle me every
Don't
time.
skangle me, kidnapper.
We would actually be like that.
I know. I think that's why it made me laugh so much that like me and you have been in serious situations together where we're not allowed to laugh, and that's the kind of shit that we do. So I knew
Awful.
that in that situation, that is what we'd do.
We definitely would. Right. So I'm sat there Sunday night and we're having a normal, we didn't even have a full conversation. I was sent Lisa a screenshot just to show her we'd got a new member. That's how off topic
Oh,
this
I didn't
is.
even see that.
Well, you did because you did. But anyway, then I pause and within 11 minutes ish it was later. So I'm watching my film. I've forgotten about the conversation and comes through is on one message, I've got an old biddy injury. Less than a minute later, because it's the same timestamp. So annoyed. So I go, what injury? Is it not an anybody injury? All these are separate messages. So when I pause, separate message. No. It's an old biddy one. Gonna have to get it sorted. So I still don't know what the injury is. What is it? Lol. Right, because I'm already smirking now. Because it's Sunday. There's no way she's been diagnosed, right? Ulnar tunnel syndrome. That's what it is. Ha ha. So I then go, what is that? As I'm Googling it, by the way. My little finger inside of hand, numb and tingly and sore. And if I don't get it sorted, you know what happens? No message. It goes in a claw shape. So I go, no. Lisa goes, a fucking claw. WTF. So I go, how do you sort it? I had carpal tunnel once. 2 shits is out. I'm telling her what I've had now, right? We'll have an op. I think that's supposed to say we'll have to have an op. Yeah, it's not that. So we're now having 2 conversations because we're answering one. It fixed itself though. So I'm still on about me here, not even asked about Lisa's claw. And then she goes, what did you do about that? Oh, because we're still on another conversation. I had some scans and stuff and it was all tingly and numb. I remember my dad took me to St. Mary's.
Are you reading this out loud? It's so
Lisa just goes, a claw.
What? I've said it again. It traumatized me. It has, honestly.
It was after I had Leah. I'm going to read this to you because it goes on. It was after I had Leah and they put me in for an op, but it just went better. And then on a separate message, I go, you can have a claw. That's just creepy. I think I damaged it when I fell that time outside the house. It's disgusting. She then sends me a photograph of Matthew Perry and friends doing the claw hand, right? And on the conversation goes, it then went into me and her passing memes of various claw-shaped hands. That is legit going to be me. I then tell her that we can't hold hands anymore. And she goes, well, why would we? And yeah, we've never held hands.
That would be so. I remember accidentally hold. What?
I did hold your hand.
When?
When you had
when I had my ear pierced.
Oh God.
And look what happened there.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they're the things.
I love a full circle. I can't believe it come out full circle.
It did. So claws and messages aside, well, we better tell you about our guest because she's sat in the waiting room and we've not even talked a little bit about this. And I guess what's so interesting for me and Lisa with this one is that sobriety, we always put everything down to sobriety, especially Lisa. You'll have heard her say a million times, that's because I'm sober. Yeah. But honestly, there's so many things that do happen because you're sober. And just back to all 2 shits here, you know, I have taken up the organ again and my fitness again. There's no way I'd be doing those things. No way, especially not the organ. There is no way I'd be getting up on a Sunday morning and doing church services if I was still drinking. Not a chance. Not a chance. What about you? Come on.
Oh, what would I
like
be
what
doing?
have you done that's like own
Everything.
Don't say everything.
No, it is true though. It is everything. My life is so much better. And honestly, for people that have heard the podcast, if you have listened to season 1, you will see the difference to my life because I stopped drinking now from everything. And it's not necessarily like, I don't know, there's nothing that I can directly say. It's just in general, when good things happen to me, I swear it's because they're sober, or I'm aware of them because I'm sober.
So what intrigues me about this guest, and she's called Charlotte Manning, what intrigued me so much is because a little while ago, I remember you and me were going to do that fitness course for Turning Point.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone to the person that did our jingle for the podcast, who's a giant friend of mine and Lisa's. And I've always said he's my male best friend, all right? But he's basically a giant friend for me and Lisa. And I was telling him how much my singing voice had improved since I got sober. And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, honestly, I can hit high notes much better. It feels clearer." And what intrigued me about Charlotte was she said something on through Instagram and just said how much she loved our podcast, and she was going sober doing our experiment, and that her voice had massively improved, and she's a vocal coach and she's in a band. So that's all I know up to now. So should we get her in and have a chat? Let's get her in.
Yeah,
I'm going to change her name in a second because at the moment she's not called Charlotte on there. So I'm going to mute myself in a minute. That'll be a first, won't it? All right, so hopefully Charlotte is coming in and the camera's going to go on. I've admitted her, but she's gone in the ether somewhere. So I'm hoping she'll be able to hear me and put a camera on and a sound on.
She's definitely not here.
She's lost her voice and her face. Oh, right, well, we'll just carry on talking. We'll carry on talking. So, you know your bowls?
Yeah.
Crystal bowls. This is what got me thinking about you. Is there any, seriously, I know you've always been spiritual, but do you think you'd have taken the time to learn and do a course and all that in the crystal bowls?
I don't know. It's hard to say, I suppose, because I just don't know, Alex. I absolutely can't answer that question. I think because being sober is such who I am now, it's nearly 6 years. I really, really don't know.
Well, one of our ambassadors and members has just hit 7 years, and she was saying today on Be Fit that literally she forgot. She just forgot because it's just so normal now for her to be sober. And you do forget. I forgot my 5 years. You're coming up to 6.
I know. Do you know what? I've seen a few things on Instagram though, and I don't know why, but I've seen 2 in the last 3 days of people over 5 years sober going back to drinking.
Really?
Yeah, there was an account and it said they put a post up and just said, "I've done 5 years and I'm just letting you know that I'm going back to moderate drinking." And it was really interesting because obviously something like that, when you're around that time yourself, it caught my interest. So I went on and had a look at all the comments. People were fuming.
Well, it's not their life.
I know, I thought that it's such like, it's kind of a double-edged sword because I get it. In some ways, if that account has inspired you and you've looked up to it and you've been following it and you've been following the journey and it's kind of something that's kept you in the sober sphere, if you like, I'd imagine it's quite distressing that they go, "All right, I've done that now and now I'm going back to drinking." You'd be like, what the hell? Hi.
Here she is. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, how are you?
Right, well, this is awkward. I'm going to be 2 seconds. My husband's locked out. Carry on without me. 1 second.
Oh, it's going so well.
We're doing so well. Charlotte, I'm going to, oh no, I can't do it because Alex is the host. She's the one that needs to rename you. So there we go.
That's
Hi,
it.
lovely to meet you. I'm Lisa.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Really, really good. Thanks. I was just twittering on then while we was waiting for you to come in about how on Instagram I've seen some sober accounts that have decided to start moderately drinking over the last. They've been sober 5 years and then started drinking again.
Wow.
So I know that's what I was twittering on about while we were waiting for you to come in.
Do you want to do a bit of an introduction to yourself, Charlotte, about what you do and tell us a little bit about, because I mean, I spoke to you on Instagram, didn't I? And that's how we've got you back on the podcast.
Yeah.
But just let's have a little conversation about what made you go sober, how you found us. Just introduce yourself while I sort this out. I can breathe now.
Yeah. You've done the big jog. So I'm Charlotte Manning, and I'm a voice coach, a singing coach. And I decided I was going to go sober 167 days ago.
Wow.
So I'm a little bit of a newbie to the scene.
That's amazing, 167 days. That's not a newbie.
I worked it out that I'm 2 weeks off 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, or tomorrow. So I've not got very long to go until that. And I think I'm probably going to make myself like a fat Victoria sponge to celebrate. Have a little six on top.
Oh, nice.
So I teach voice. I teach voice from my home studio. I'm a professional singer. I trained at drama school, so I trained more in musical theatre at Trinity Laban Conservatoire in London. And then after my training, I came home and I got more into the live music scene. And obviously in the live music scene, there's lots of drinking. I think that's quite a culture within live music. You do an afternoon gig and you have a beer, or you'll do an evening gig, and whilst everyone else is getting a few drinks in, you'll get a few drinks in. And during that time of playing more live music stuff, I think definitely the binge drinking would be happening a lot more probably than other people, because you're constantly in and amongst that environment, and you're always kind of around that kind of party kind of feeling, and you do feel like you want to kind of go along with it and get swept up with it as well. When I was around 25, I basically got a voice injury. So I damaged my vocal folds and had what they call nodules. So if you've seen Pitch Perfect, there's these called nodes. They call them vocal nodes in Pitch Perfect. And it's two little lumps that form on the vocal cords, and they stop your vocal cords basically making sound properly. They can't come together and do these cycles of vibration, not to get too
quite a common vocal injury, isn't it, for singers?
Yeah, it's really, really common. So many singers have had it. If you Google singers that have had nodules, you'll see Pink, Adele, you'll see Freddie Mercury, Stevie Wonder, lots and lots of people have had them, and lots of people have come back from them as well. But for me, because it was such a long time ago, so it's nearly 10 years ago now, which seems insane that it was that long ago. For me, I was, really, really terrified. And when I went to the ENT and they said, "Oh, you've got this," at the time I was smoking and I was drinking, and I just stopped both of them that day. And it wasn't a thought. It wasn't oh no, I'm not going to be able to smoke and drink anymore. It was just that's done. That's taken away something that actually I see very firmly as my identity.
Yeah.
So, and for me, it was more the smoking and shouting, when I was out and in amongst these noisy environments that you're always kind of in when you're a kind of a pub musician or a bar musician, or even when you're, doing weddings and things like that, you're always around noise and you're always around people that want to talk to you in that noise. So I went through that. And I met my husband, which kind of coincided quite nicely. So during all of my kind of recovery from that and going through speech and lang, I didn't drink at all. And I think I stayed off alcohol for quite a long time, because for me, I'd always noticed if I was drinking on a gig, I'd always be oh, I can't really sing. It feels dry. It feels a bit tight. I could.
It will though, won't it? Because I mean, I don't. Lisa and I both have backgrounds in pub scene. In different ways. You know this anyway because you've heard the podcast. But
I love the podcast. I love you two together. You're so funny. You're so funny.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
My dad was a musician. I think you'll probably know that. So, and I know what you're saying, the whole singing and the whole shouting and the smoking. And it seems so weird that as a singer, you would think it would be all right to do any of those things, really, when your voice is like your tool and you're
yeah.
inhaling fumes and dehydrating your vocal cords.
100%. So my speech and language lady at the hospital, when we were talking about smoking, she was just like, well, Charlotte, she had a little model of a larynx, and I'll always remember her doing it. She had this little model of a larynx of a voice box, and she picked it up and she like held it down to the ground, and she said, if you imagine down there's like a campfire, that's what you're doing to your vocal tract. Every time you smoke, it's like you're holding it over a fire because it's hot and it's really smoky. And we forget how tiny, like what you're saying, Alex, about it being like your instrument, your whole body is your singing instrument. The whole thing is a singing instrument. And I think that's why with the topic of alcohol and singing, people think it all the time for smoking. Like people are, and I think this is the same for smoking in general, isn't it? Like, well done, you haven't smoked. But I feel like drinking literally affects so many parts of your body in such a detrimental way that of course it's going to be just as bad as smoking. Like you should know that even without listening to the podcast and the audio books and doing your research online. Like that should be so obvious. And yet, even when I'd recovered from nodules, I can remember vividly another pub singer who is amazing, but she said to me, she was like, oh, you know, if you're feeling nervous, you know, just have a little Southern Comfort. And I was just like, no, like absolutely not. Like, no.
I could taste that then. I literally remembered the Southern Comfort taste when you
I
said
like the smell of it.
Yeah, it's do you know what? I did, like Southern Comfort with lemonade, like.
Yeah, it's so normal to people to do things like this. Like years, when I was 17, 18, I was doing a counselling course at college, and I'd gone and I had a final assessment, and I was really, really nervous, and we owned a pub, and I remember people saying to me before, and my drink of choice even then was Bacardi and Coke, and they were like, have a Bacardi before you go and you'll be fine. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Had a couple of Bacardis before I went on. Like I must have stunk of alcohol, but because I was in that environment, it was so normal to everybody there. It was my lifestyle, and I suppose it's very much the same, isn't it?
It is harder, I think, though, as well. You know, like it's weird that, well, it's not weird because this is planned, but I was having a conversation. I was having a conversation this morning about playing the organ, and I've got 2 funerals to do tomorrow and on Friday, and they're quite big funerals, and the pieces that I'm playing are quite big and new. And in the past, I have no doubt that even kind of midday, I might, if I felt as nervous as I do now, I might have been tempted to just have a little bit of wine, even if it was just an inch or two. And that wouldn't happen very often, but I can imagine.
It's making my mouth water in a weird
way. In a negative way.
It's like
I can imagine that's the kind of thing I'd do just to take the edge off. So it's kind of a bit double-edged, isn't it? Because like, obviously you're not early into your journey, but you're early enough to know that feeling of, ooh, I feel really nervous. What can I do? And it takes a long time to develop. I mean, I'd never dream of it now, but I hope nobody from church listens to this, but you know, the CBD drops.
Yeah.
I remember my first funeral putting double the dose under my tongue because I was so I was so nervous.
And it's, you know, it's really, I think it's tough when if you're doing funerals or you're doing weddings, especially funerals, because it's not just nerve-wracking because this is it's a little bit like a wedding, like they're only hopefully going to get one of them, they're only going to have one funeral, and it's really important for the family. And also there's all of the emotion from the rest of the family that kind of
feel
in the room. So sometimes people ask me to sing at funerals. Often I am, you know, really busy working, but it's one of those things that like I really have to think about because it's so hard, like with nerves and things like that, because you don't want to make it about you and your nerves and how you're feeling at all.
I manage fine.
Yeah, Alex will be fine with that.
I don't. I get it. I'm joking.
So you don't want to like make it about you and your nerves, but and you want to do a really good job because you understand like the gravity and the importance of that situation. So like these more nerve-wracking performances, or these more nerve-wracking times when you'd be singing or playing the organ, like 100% like CBD, double the dose. I don't think anyone's going to judge you at all.
Well, maybe the vicar would.
The vicar might. The vicar might. You start whistling down the centre aisle, he might, yeah.
I just thought it didn't work, so I didn't bother ever again. I just was like, it didn't do anything at all. But it's that you're absolutely right. You sat there and you stood there and you're thinking, you are thinking, I do think about me, but it's not me like, oh, I want to do well. It's I want to do well for these people.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the added pressure. Of course, you want to do well for you, but then the added pressure is to do well for those people. Like you just said, it's their one and only, or it's somebody they love, or it's, you know, and it's really hard. And I think alcohol for me was, I mean, I wasn't playing the organ back then, but in that situation, alcohol would have been the thing that allowed me to relax in those situations, but not necessarily do good. And I tell you, I did a singing performance on my 40th birthday, and it had been planned, honestly, Charlotte, for months. People at work, they'd all played instruments. I had a drummer from my engineering department, 2 guitarists, and I was singing. And I was that drunk when I got on stage, I completely ruined it. And it had been practiced because I couldn't, not because I was nervous, just because I was a piss pot, but basically I ruined it. I was so drunk, it just became something silly, and I could have done it 100 times better being sober.
Yeah, and I think in that, like, you got to think about like why you're stepping on stage in that, you know, in that kind of situation. Like, you're obviously doing it because it's a big birthday. You want to get up there and kind of maybe do something you haven't done before and be really proud of yourself. And yeah, I think it like one thing that like resonated with me with your guys' podcast when I was first listening to it was like, because I think I listened to your podcast on shuffle, which by the way is really confusing. I was like, what is going on? But there was a point where you were talking about like everything's better sober.
We've done that again today.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
There you go. Like everything's better sober, and like that performance would have been better sober, not necessarily because you would have been a better singer necessarily, although I would say you probably would have done a better vocal performance, but more to do with the fact that like you would have actually experienced it more.
Yeah, you're present in that moment, and
things you were
there's
getting up
something
to
to be
do.
said. Yeah, there is
100%.
something to be said for feeling the nerves, you know, like being nervous and being excited is all part of that moment of presence in it.
Yeah, and I think so. I was thinking about this because obviously coming on and speaking as like a vocal coach, like I wanted to have a few things prepared.
Yeah, good. We're glad because we're like, right, okay.
But I was thinking about you know, what people use alcohol for normally in their everyday life. So my husband's a record producer, and he's like a touring musician, and he's got quite a stressful job, and he's got a really creative job, and he still like moderately drinks. He actually gave up. So when I gave up in January, he didn't drink for the whole of February because he felt like he needed just a bit of a break from it all.
Yeah.
I felt like we drunk just consistently every day since coronavirus happened. So like he was like, I need a break. So he kind of gave up for a month, and he did feel some benefits. Now he's kind of moderately drinking again. And obviously a lot of my friends still drink, and they to different degrees. And I was thinking about the times when people do drink, and it's, you know, people are stressed from work, or the kids are driving them mad, or they've got a deadline they've got to meet, and you know, they've worked really hard all day, so they're going to have their little bit of a treat. And it really brought to my attention that people are kind of drinking to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They're trying to like smooth over something that's bothering them. A little bit like performance anxiety. So performance anxiety, if you have a drink before you go on stage, that performance anxiety, there's a good chance that's going to disappear. But the next time you go on stage, you're still going to have performance anxiety because you've almost like treated it with something that's not going to last. What you really kind of need to do in that situation is go back and actually go, right, why am I scared?
Yeah.
Like, why am I scared? And like Alex said, like, it's fine to be like today, knowing I was coming on this, I was like, whoa, like, you know, because I'm fine to talk, as you might have noticed. Like, I'm good with talking. But it's, you know, it's nerve-wracking. And I had to sit there and say, like, why am I scared of doing this? And like when I go on stage, I always get nervous when I perform. My husband's like, me and my husband play together in a band, so
lovely.
Oh, it's really cute.
It's so nice. Like, what kind of music do you play, Charlotte?
So we have a duo where we do a lot of, so we do all covers, and our covers are kind of like, in our duo, they kind of got a country kind of.
I knew you were going to say country. Yeah. I knew it. I think it was when you spoke then and said that you were a good talker. I heard a country twang in it.
Chris Stapleton just came out my mouth. So we do a bit of that, and he's a bit like he's just a multi-instrumentalist, so he can sympathise with Alex because he plays guitar, but then he's playing the bass with the organ pedals.
Oh yeah.
He plays the bass line of his left foot with the organ pedals because he's a keys player, really. He's a piano player, first instrument. And then he'll play a stomp box with his right foot. So I just have to stand there and sing. And he's like Bert from Mary Poppins, like playing everything around.
The one-man band.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I say I'm funny, you see. So he plays I'm funny. So
this is me. This is what I say with me and Alex.
Yeah, she does.
Although actually it's not true. She's funny as well. It's so annoying.
It's really annoying, isn't it? It's really annoying.
You are funnier.
So yeah, so
Only
and we're also in we're in a 6-piece band. So we've got 2 singers, me and one of my mates, Mike, who's got like the voice of an angel.
Oh,
just
brilliant.
incredible.
Where can we find your music?
So we're on Instagram as The Big Strut. So make sure there's no spelling errors in that, or it can come out interesting. We're on as The Big Strut, and yeah, so Instagram is the main place we post, and we do a lot of weddings, and we do kind of travel all over the place, kind of, yeah, weddings and events and things like that. This year we're doing Armed Forces Day in Plymouth, where we're from, which is going to be a huge gig, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait. I've got to sort out my outfit, but I can't wait. So
and
that's
what was the whole Sunset Boulevard thing?
Oh yeah, so that's theatre. So I do in our city we've got a couple of amateur theatre companies, and I'm in one of them. And yeah, we did Sunset Boulevard. Oh my gosh, in April. So that was completely different. So that was all theatre singing, and I would call myself more of like a mezzo, and I was cast as a soprano. So that was interesting to have to train myself to sing these higher things. So yeah, so theatre's kind of like my first love. It's obviously what I trained in when I was at drama school. And yeah, so that's what I was doing then.
Yeah, what a lovely thing to do. And I think it's amazing that you can do it without alcohol. You were saying before, like, it should be so obvious to us that it affects our bodies, but it's not, is it? Like, when you were saying it, I was thinking, God, I've never even thought like of alcohol affecting singing. What I want to ask you is vocal coaching. So on our podcast that we recorded last
Lisa,
week,
she can't teach you to sing.
I might be good now I'm sober, Alex. This is what I was thinking, that I might now be able to sing. So I was saying last week, it depends when this podcast comes out, ages ago, that I had to sneak into the choir because singing has never.
I listened to that yesterday.
Yeah, she did. But somebody asked me today as well, which will tie in really well with what Lisa's saying. Can you learn how to sing?
Yes.
Anyone?
Yeah. So there's only about 5%.
Do you say that to be plied, though? Seriously, Charlotte? Because there is people that definitely can't sing. I would say, like me,
you
and
can sing in tune.
That's it. So if you
do sing in tune, Lisa, you don't sort of wail off on a different note.
Sometimes I've tried and I've recorded myself out while singing along in the car just to see if I am as bad as I think I am, and I'm pretty bad. Like,
I mean, obviously I can't comment on that without having you send me said recordings. And
Yeah,
me-
that's not happening, Charlotte.
But like, so what I'd say is like, so the voice, so everything in here that makes voice is like muscles, and it's cartilages and ligaments, but it's muscles that move them. And if you think about like a ballet class with like, so I go to an adult ballet class still to like keep up with my training. But if you think of like a ballet class, you'll have people of all different levels in that ballet class. And you'll need a teacher to pull you into line and pull you into position and help with, you know, if you're pointing your leg, say, behind you to make sure it's not coming out to the side, and pulling it into line. So a singing teacher, when they, or a voice coach or whatever you want to call them, when they're teaching, they'll listen to a phrase and they'll probably listen to it in like a different way than like a normal person would listen to it. So when I listen to someone sing, I always think like, here are the good parts, here are the bits that like they've fundamentally kind of already got. And then here are the bits that need to be worked on. And in this little group of things, here's this thing that over time we can kind of implement to help pull it into line with what they want to be doing. So, and everyone's voice is a little bit so everyone's voice is different. Unless you've had some sort of surgery or you've been born, say, without certain parts, we all have the same parts, but they're all a little bit different. And that will be based on what you were born with. And it will also be based on like culture. So what kind of household you grew up in. So I've got quite a loud, penetrating voice. And my husband's always like, why are you shouting?
How nice is that to me?
It's so annoying.
He said it last week when we were recording. We weren't recording. We were just working together. And Alex's husband come in at the back of her and he went, why are you shouting? And then I realised how much she'd been shouting, and she was like, I don't know, I always do it. It's really made me laugh.
Like, but that's because there's no wonder though, is there? As what you're just saying, there is no wonder. I grew up with my dad.
Yeah, this is me. Yeah. Exactly. I grew up, so my dad was in the Navy, was in the Navy, sorry, when I was young. Everything was, if I was upstairs, he'd shout from wherever he was in the house.
Yeah, I do it.
And my mum would. And my mum is a Scouser. So if I'm looking at it from like a voice perspective, my mum's got a lot of twang in her voice. So that kind of bright sound, which travels really far without very much effort. And she speaks really loud. Yeah. Not all the time, Mum. She'll definitely hear this now and be annoyed. But like, she can speak really loud. And we would, as kids, you know, because our parents were shouting from room to us to call us, we'd shout back. And so you train those muscles from like a young age. And say, for example, my husband, my sister-in-law, my husband's mum and his dad, like I remember once they were all at a table together, all talking, and we were at like Prezzo or somewhere, like we were like ZZ, and they're all talking, and I'm like leaning in because they've all got culturally gentle, soft voices that don't really travel. Yeah. And it's cultural, like because they're quite a reserved, quiet family, and my family aren't so much. So it's this thing we call the biopsychosocial. And your bio is kind of what you're born with. Your psycho one is kind of like what's going on up here. And then your social is like where you were raised, what kind of people you hang out with. You've also got one circle is to do with like, do you smoke? Do you drink? Like all those other things as well. So there's so much that goes into forming what we then have as our voice by the end of it.
And what about what's going on up here? Because like some people literally cannot hear the notes they're meant to sing.
So that's to do with like awareness. So that is really to do with awareness and really slowing down. I think because our voices are really personal, our voices are like a fingerprint. So if Lisa called to me across a car park and I wasn't facing her, I would see Lisa's face in my head before I looked at her, because her voice is like a fingerprint, is like her face. It's just completely personal to her. So when we sing and maybe what comes out doesn't really match like what we think is meant to come out, we go and we shy away and we don't want to do it and we put up a little wall. If you've got someone who then takes their time with you and goes, look, the note's here, let's slide around in that bit of range for a bit, up and down, until you feel where that note is and land on it. That's where that note is there. Can you feel that, how that's sitting? sometimes you just need someone to take a bit more time with you.
That's so interesting. It's so interesting what you say about cultural as well. You know what I've done loads of times? This is not to do with singing, but you know, when you've walked past people and they're on the phone to somebody else and they're talking quietly, I've never understood it, right? So I've tried, like when I've been making appointments, I've tried to talk quietly on the phone and it just doesn't become natural. Like I feel like I can't hear. Does that make sense?
I get that, Lisa. I'm the same as you with that. Honestly, I feel
like
we're
Rob's
quite
family are
loud
quite
people.
quiet. They'll have like
Yeah.
a quiet conversation. And when you said about leaning in, I'm like, yeah, what they're saying, we are very loud people, aren't we? Like I've heard our podcast back sometimes and gone,
It's like your mum, though. If you think about your mum and Terry, they were loud people. Your
well,
mum is
my
loud.
mum's loud. You know, she had her nodules.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah, and she, mum, if you're listening, I'm sorry. We all know she cannot sing either.
I don't think she's going to be upset by that.
No, I told her once when I was little, and she's never forgiven me really for it, I don't think. But she used to sing this song by Madonna, Crazy for You. And I remember saying, Mum, that's really good, that. And I was kidding, right? But she was like, really? Do you think it's dead good? I was like, oh, yeah, it's well good. Honestly, she sang this song everywhere. And we went to Camelot theme park and she went to sing and all of us, I was like, no, I'm really sorry. It's not good, Mum. It's not good. I felt awful. I was only like 12, 11.
My mum's the same though.
11,
She
12.
can't sing. She used to do this thing, my mum, like you're on. Do you remember Coronation Street, Lisa, with Hilda Ogden with the feather duster, and she's
oh yeah.
And that's how my mum sings, like, and her voice just quivers on the notes. Like, so if you're listening, Mum, you're a shit singer as well.
Do you know what? My mum, she got like rejected. She went to a convent school, so she's in Liverpool. She went to a convent school in Liverpool, and she got rejected from the choir. And it's something that, I mean, a little bit like Lisa said, like it stayed with her for like the longest time that she got rejected from the choir. And she always used to say to me, because I was like, so my sister's a dancer, my mum was a dancer as she was growing up, and then she became a school teacher. And then I've always kind of been like the singer, musical theatre person. And loads of people in my family perform as well. So my uncle performed, my grandma performed, my dad was like in a folk band. So we're quite musical. But my mum never forgets the fact that she didn't get into the choir and she was told she couldn't sing. So my lovely Liverpool nana passed away. You know when something really sad happens and you genuinely can't remember when it was because it was just so sad. She passed away. She passed away really recently. It was October before last, and we all went up to Liverpool for the funeral. My husband came with me as well, and we were all staying in this big house, just me, my mum, my dad, and my sister, and my husband. And one of the nights, because music was such a huge part of my nana's life and my grandpa, they loved the theatre, and my nana played piano for like all of the dancing school and like for the dancing festival, and she would just play piano all the time. My husband, that would be strange, wouldn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my God. My husband was like, let's have a bit of a sing song. So I put on like some karaoke tracks on YouTube and we all got up and had to sing. And my mum was like, oh no, I can't sing. I'm not going to sing. And I was like, my sister doesn't sing very much either. And I always tell her that she should sing more. So I was like, come on, we'll all get up and do a song. And my mum did Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac from the Tango in the Night album, which is an album that I really remember from being a kid. And she got up and she sung it, and like she just looked like she was having the best time.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And I think like there's singing for performing and there's singing for getting paid to sing. And then there's something, and you probably find this if your like sound work that you do, Lisa, there's something else about creating sound and having it resonate through you, and to sing and to make noise with that primal voice that like does something else. That is nothing to do with like the commercial side of singing. It does something else to you. And, you know, it's really good for your mental health and to kind of let loose a bit. And yeah, so I think regardless of mums being able to sing, and Lisa as well, that you should still do it. You know,
I
because
agree.
you
You know
say-
what? I feel so bad on my mum. Like, I've been sat there thinking, I feel really bad that I did that as a child. I feel like what an awful thing to do.
Yeah, you need
Like,
to
tell her that she could
apologise.
sing something really well.
Public apology.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Mum. Because
Yeah.
yeah, that's really, really honestly,
You were
I
a kid.
feel like
You
I'm
were
gonna
like,
have to
I'm
go-
sure your mum forgives you now.
I know I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to process that though, because I
But
feel
do you know
really
what the
shit
thing is though
about
as well, Charlotte? Lisa always says that she loves choirs. And I look, I mean,
love
like
choirs.
I run
Yeah.
the church choir. It's not like professional. But what you're saying is so true. There's something really primal is probably the word about singing together, whether you're in tune or not. We all did it at the Be Wild down in Tunbridge Wells. We had a lady come in, and she does quite Joyful Outdoors on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Joyful Outdoors, and
Yeah,
she
that's
did
one.
laughing yoga with us, and she did some forest walks with another group, and then she did campfire singing, and she managed to get a group of us. Some could sing, some couldn't. Some
All
had never
right,
done
I
it.
was in the bit where we had to just go boom, boom, boom.
Not always. You did, that was only one song, but anyway, she got us all together, and honestly, there was something very special
It was
about the end
beautiful.
results of each of the songs. Like, we didn't sound like a choir of angels, but we were a collective voice, and it's that thing of going, you know, the sound resonating through your
resonance,
body,
yeah.
and it was special, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I teach, or I used to teach the choir in school, and when you hear a lot of the kids in the school that I teach in, you know, they don't read music. They're amazing. They go on YouTube and they'll find a video and they'll just learn it, and you just think, you've just learned that. And you know, their like theory side isn't amazing, but there's something about music that kind of transcends even like the notation language necessarily. And when the kids are like all together singing, and we've been, say, working on a harmony. So we were working on Revolting Children from Matilda like last week, and I took little groups out to work on the harmony, and when they all came back in and came together and they could hear that kind of other thing that harmony brings to a group, they
Oh
were
wow.
like, oh, looking at each other like you feel, I don't know, harmony is pretty magical, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
When it's kids that you know maybe have only been used to singing the melody, and they suddenly feel the melody thicken up with that harmony running.
It's the feeling, isn't it?
is the
And I get
feeling.
what you're saying. Like when I do it, even with my crystal balls, the sounds of when I play some like two together make a honestly, it's just incredible, and the feeling is incredible. I love it.
And it's what we're doing this year on Be Wild in the North one. We've talked about this, and I'm actually going to run a workshop where we form a mini choir
Oh, I love it.
with harmonies.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it'll be for fun. It'll be for fun, but we will perform something like it's going to happen. I've already got
Yeah.
the song and everything.
Oh, I won't ask you what the set list is, but I do want to know. I kind of want to know.
One. It's only one song, but I'll tell you.
Yeah, you can tell me later.
Anybody else? There's a few tickets left for Be Wild. So if you want to be in Alex's choir, then go over to the website and book on.
Plug in it already. Any opportunity.
Yes.
So let's just go back a little bit. Before I know we've kind of not got loads of time, but let's just go back a bit. So how, in your opinion, do you now cope with the nerves and the stress and the things that make us feel a bit uncomfortable if you're not drinking?
So to be honest with you, I'm the worst. I'm probably the worst person to speak about nerves, because now that I am sober, I think like my nerves get pretty bad. So I played Jo March in Little Women last year in the musical version of it down here, and my nerves were terrible because I was playing the lead, and it was really, really, really tough. And you know, I'd fully let my performance anxiety take over in the day. So if I wasn't in the theatre in the daytimes, and I was trying to warm my voice up and kind of get settled, it was really, really overwhelming. And I think some of that stems from having 2 vocal injuries. So I had nodules once, obviously, when I was in my 20s, and then a few years later, because I'd upped my workload, I got nodules again. I've had them twice. Yay. And recovered twice. So I think a lot of my performance anxiety is to do with two voice injuries.
Yeah, like what if it happens again, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and like, oh gosh, like what if, you know, I sing out full loud and proud tonight, and then tomorrow I go on and I can't deliver that same performance, or don't have the same flexibility in my voice, whatever it is. So I was speaking to my voice teacher, who's a lady from London called Louisa, and she's amazing. She's like proper opera singer, so like she's different to me. So that's why I wanted to go to her, so that I could kind of learn all this amazing opera stuff that she teaches me. And I said to her while I was rehearsing as Betty Schaefer, which was my role in Sunset Boulevard, I said to her, like, I don't feel like I'm in my body. Like I feel so like a ghost. Like I feel shaky, and I feel like I can think on it too much, and it freaks me out, like completely freaks me out that no one's heard my voice like this before. It's a completely different way of me singing, and I'm actually really scared. And she said, okay, well, we're just gonna do some things that are going to like help with that. And we did like a body scan, which is stuff I'd done at drama school and just never did again. So she really led me through a body scan, laying on a yoga mat, and just went all the way up just to make me feel more centered. And then we did some like really primal, slidey sounds. So playing around in that upper register place that I had to sing in a really non-singy kind of way. So not equating it to it being this perfect, beautiful performance, but equating it to stretching the voice in those areas that I'm not used to using, which completely takes away this idea of performance. It's just you experiencing your voice. Yeah. So we did some of that. I started running recently, which is something I thought I'd never do.
Well
and
done.
I really like it.
You know what? I wanted to say more to you then, but I've got like, I'm self-sabotaging on running at the moment.
Yeah, she don't want to say well done because she's not doing it herself when she's supposed to.
So yeah,
it's really hard though. It is
so
hard.
Like I think we've signed up for a 10K in September, which is coming at me really, really quickly. And I think if I hadn't have signed up for it, I'd probably naturally have started running by now, because I do once a year, I pick it up and then I leave it, and then I've been and bought the trainers. I just can't get going. So as soon as you said it then, I didn't want it, like, I think it's amazing that you started doing it, but also it filled me with dread.
She went into thinking about what she thinks about running. See, she did it too. We all do this thing about me.
I did. Can I just tell you something, right? I never normally do this, but my phone's just buzzed. So I just had a peek at it then when we were talking, and it's so weird. One of our members that was at Be Wild and was in my section of the choir has just sent me this. I can't even believe it. It's too weird. She's just sent me this kind of like quote, if you like, and it says, "Dear best friend, if you ever feel bad, call me. I promise to sing for you. Then you can decide what's worse."
Oh, wow.
Hang on a minute. Who's her? Wait, who thinks they're your best friend?
Excuse me.
We said, just off topic, we sent each other these meme videos yesterday, and one of them was about me. It said best friend and two friends, and they were showing me when I see my best friend having lunch with somebody else, and it had friend, and then in came the best friend on a truck and run the other one over. A child's truck, but it was, it just reminded me of that as well.
But how bizarre is that? And I never ever pick up my phone during a podcast, and for some reason I was like called to go like, oh, what does she want? And how crazy is that?
That is wild. There we go. You see, it's just sending it out.
I don't know why I keep finding stuff like this weird. I'm so like aligned and believe in stuff like this and signs and weird stuff, but it still freaks me out when it happens.
That's so funny. I love it. Maybe I'll send one later and then you'll be like mega freaked out. You'll be like, oh my God. Oh no. It's not so weird.
I will.
So, one thing I used to say, Charlotte, to our friend Ben, was that my voice had massively improved when I wasn't drinking. So I want to know what your experience with stopping drinking has been on your voice and on your career.
So I would say, I never normally drink when I'm doing like a show, like a theatre show, because what I've got to do when I'm doing a theatre show is, in my opinion, it's more complicated. You've got to do more subtle things. When I'm on mic, when I'm singing at a gig, it's a little bit more forgiving. When I'm in a theatre and it's a bit more orchestra and a head mic and you're acting and you're doing everything else. So I never drink when I'm doing a theatre show, anyway, regardless. But with gigging and with teaching and talking just every day, I've noticed that when I wake up in the morning, my voice feels 70% better than it ever used to. One thing that I posted when I first got sober was that like I noticed that nothing really gives me acid reflux. And I'd always be like, oh, I can't eat that. That will give me acid reflux. And actually, it was probably just like the wine I drank every night was giving me acid reflux. So like my acid reflux has kind of disappeared. And we know that acid reflux, because of the way the esophagus relaxes and everything else, and the acid kind of creeps up, we know that it's really detrimental to vocal health. So that feeling has disappeared. And I teach, I've got a good friend of mine called Emily, who's a singer, and she struggles with acid reflux anyway, just because of health reasons. And when I'm teaching her, sometimes she'll be like, oh, I'm having a bit of an acid reflux day. And we know what that feeling is like. It's that dry, scratchy feeling. So that's one thing that's really, really changed. Dehydration, like it's so obvious, like, and I notice this now that I'm sober when I don't drink water, and when I do drink water, the flexibility, and the way that my voice can move, and the way that obviously it is moving here is so much more fluid and so much easier. Hitting higher notes, belting louder and holding it for longer, being able to sing really quiet and really high. So you're doing these really detailed things. Like if you're drinking every single night, which like lots of grey area drinkers do, like regardless of like how much it is, like that's going to have a dehydrating and detrimental effect on your body. Yeah. And a dehydrated voice just isn't as resilient. And if it's not as resilient, it gets inflamed more easily. And then doing this subtle, gentle work, or doing this more athletic, like muscular work in the voice just becomes much harder, because it's hard work and the voice needs to be able to recover. It affects sleep, as we know. So like you're trying to replenish all of these, like, you know, you're trying to take down swelling when you're sleeping, and you're trying to replenish everything that's happening in the voice when you're sleeping. And if you're not sleeping, you're going to wake up like you haven't slept. So you're going to wake up with that tired voice. And a lot of the time, you guys know from being in the pub scene, being around the live music scene, you're not really getting a lot of great sleep anyway on weekends if you're doing weddings and they're far away and you're there till midnight. So then adding an additional thing that's going to wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning with like a pounding heart, like just don't do it. And I think like those have been the really, really big ones for me. I think singers need to treat themselves, and this is like professional singers or people that just want to get better at singing. But I think this is something that I've really noticed, and I knew this anyway, but I'm now applying it more to alcohol. You've got to treat yourself like an athlete. Like these are muscles. You're using these tiny little muscle groups to do these quite extraordinary things. Yeah. So even if you're just talking, you're creating a huge palette of different sounds. When you go into singing, and especially like musical theatre and you're storytelling through song, you're creating these like amazing like performances and different palettes of sound again. Like if you're treating yourself like an athlete, you're going to have the resilience, you're going to be able to build up the stamina. You're not going to have like, you know, it's toxic, so it damages the mucosa, which is that little fine outer lining that goes all the way from your mouth to your gut. Like that is damaged by alcohol. Like you don't see runners in the Olympics get to the line and they like smash a sambuca because they're nervous about running in front of the world and then run a really good race. You don't see them like when they finish the race, like have a pint to celebrate. And I just think like, why is it so obvious when it's other dancers? Like when I train, I work with a lot of like really high level dancers, and you see them looking after their body, and they wouldn't rock up to ballet class after having you know, a little shot to take the edge off, and you see them directly afterwards sitting in the cafe like smashing a shandy.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It so makes sense once you know, and there's loads of different things that, like, if you know, and it's been from, you know, listening to you guys and listening to Claire Pooley and Millie Gooch and listening to Catherine Gray and all these amazing people that are, you know, get Spotify Premium, guys, because it's all on there, not to name drop. You're just like, please don't do that on our show.
Do you know one of the things that I've done, Charlotte, since not drinking is gone premium on so much stuff.
I'm
So
premium Spotify.
Premium, I've got
Me
YouTube Premium.
100%. And the thing is, like, I found Spotify, not to go on about Spotify Premium, let's just, every time I say Spotify, just put a little black thing over my mouth, right?
Oh, we're not that advanced, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's just going on. It's going on. Good
So
or bad.
that really helped me because, like, down here, you can't, my husband's just come in and he's doing a little silent sorry.
That's all right.
He's going
That's all
past.
right. Hi, husband.
We
Hi.
recognise that walk, that sneaky past walk. Look at
Not
the
a
dog.
dancer. So that really helped me because not all the time when you first become sober do you find a community. Like, often you'll actually find people that are like, ooh. And I had that from friends and I had it from family members. I had one family member who, when I was talking about the fact I wasn't going to drink, defensively was like, well, I'm still going to drink. And I was like, it's nothing to do with you.
It's so funny, honestly. The conversations we're having here, they so tie into the beginning of this podcast, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, it's
they really
crazy
do.
how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so funny. So, like, you find, so I think the first thing I listened to was Sober Girl Society Handbook with Millie Gooch.
Yeah.
Because she's quite young. I think she went sober at 20, I want to say between 23 and 26, can't remember, but she
was
went
young, yeah.
sober young.
Yeah.
So many of her experiences that she had, and the same with Catherine Gray as well. So many of their experiences they had, I was like, done that, but worse, done that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How amazing is it to find somebody? Because I think that's what I've not thought about this for ages, actually, because it's like coming up to 6 years not drinking for me. So it's really nice to kind of hear you talk about the things that I really listened to in the beginning.
Yeah.
And Catherine Gray was one of them. And to actually listen to somebody and think, oh my God, I've done that. And immediately you feel less alone, don't you? And normal, if you like, because these things we kind of do when we're drinking and then we push them down and we don't tell anybody or we don't talk about it.
Oh, we just don't see it as weird till after we stop.
100%.
Yeah,
we think about it and we're like, yeah, I did that, and we think we're really cool and really like different.
Glory stories. Yeah,
glory stories.
Yeah, I love it. I love going back.
He's gone. Bye. Oh, he's just said sorry. He's fine.
We always
sorry. You know what I love there is I really want to watch that back in speed. Is the creep past at the beginning and then the casual walk going back.
The thing is that we've always got children, husbands, partners, or dogs in the background.
Yeah, my dog's behind me. He's being so good.
He's being really good. What's your dog called?
He's called Teddy. I don't even know if we can.
I did see him. Like,
we did see him a second ago. Yeah, I thought he was on a TV at first, and then I realised that he wasn't. He's real.
Yeah, it's just a really big TV the whole way along. It's just massive.
Have we? Sorry, start that again. Have you got anything on your notes that we haven't addressed that you want to tell us or you want to say? I love how you said that.
I know, I've been dying to hear a voice, even though we've heard a talking one.
And now I'm going to do 4 songs.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
You should sing us a song. You should sing.
I'm definitely not going to.
I know that if you started to sing a song after I'd said that afterwards, Lisa would go, why did you do that? It was so awkward.
No, I wouldn't. I'd like it.
To me.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to wait. You have to come down to the southwest of England and come and see a gig instead.
Oh, I wish it weren't so far because I
love so far as well, isn't it?
Well,
yeah, well, next time you're in Liverpool, you could let us know as well.
Oh, yeah. I love Liverpool. It's like one of my favourite cities. Even though I wasn't born there, it does feel a little bit like I was born there.
I get that.
Because my family's from there. So, I mean, looking at my notes, I would just say that, like, oh, actually, this might not be that interesting, but I'm going to say it anyway. So one thing that like really stood out from the books I read, from the podcasts, from everything, is the fact that when we drink, we probably, I'm not saying we all do, but a lot of us engage in like more risky behavior.
I think we
Oh,
all
yeah.
do.
Oh,
I think we
yeah,
all
we
do.
do.
Yeah.
And that, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like people will think about that like, oh, they'll get in a stranger's car, or they'll go back to a stranger's house, or they'll go for a walk by themselves
Here
to buy.
comes the tick list, Charlotte. Like, you know, that thing. Yeah.
4 times. So when I was thinking about that, I was like, we do that as well with our voices and when we're singing and if we drink on a gig, or even if we're just out with our friends, we're drinking and we've got gigs. So we'll do things like we'll smoke. Even if we don't ever smoke, we'll have a couple of drinks and we'll smoke.
Yeah.
And then the combined effect of that, you know, can be really devastating for the voice, especially the next day. You're going to be waiting a couple of days for everything to feel normal again. And the other thing that happens is because of the anesthetic effect of alcohol, because it numbs you out a bit,
Yeah.
is that you over press the vocal folds. So when they're kind of going through these little vibration cycles, because you're like having to talk a bit more like that to get your voice, sorry about that.
You always have a sore throat after a drink, don't you? When you've been
100%. You're like pressing because your body works on sensation, and you know you don't get a lot of physical feedback in the vocal tract unless you kind of know what you're feeling for. But because we're looking for that same sensation when we speak, and we don't get it because we're a little bit numbed up, we then overpress, and we always end up with that swelling and that feeling of like in the morning when
it's
you know.
so weird that you've said that, like, because honestly, even things like going on a karaoke and singing songs that are way outside of what you would normally sing in a bullshit way is going to put stress on your voice, or you know, something similar like that, or just singing loudly at a party. Like
100%.
and shouting. Like, I
I
mean,
used to
people that
love
shout
singing when I
even
was
louder.
drunk.
That's what I mean.
Like I've just had a vision of being a teenage drunk walking down the road past our old school, singing my
Because you
head
wouldn't
off.
have cared what anyone thought. The same risky behavior.
Yeah,
It is risky.
And
exactly.
I know risky behavior, the way we think about it is like different to that when we're talking about it in like this in sober circles. When we say risky behavior, we all kind of know what we mean. But when we're looking at it from voice, like that's it kind of is. I think all of this just spider diagrams down. So like every single thing that you can think of that in general affects the body with alcohol will affect your voice. I think is the takeaway. It will dry your voice out, so your voice is more likely to get a vocal injury. It will, you know, it will stop you sleeping, so you're not going to be replenishing. You're going to probably get acid reflux, so you're going to end up with that spiky, scratchy feeling. You know, it's a hormone interrupter, and like this is a hormone target, which is why your voice might change when you're on your period, right? So like
crazy, right?
But it changes when you go through menopause, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it almost breaks a bit. Yeah.
It's when like the estrogen is reduced in your body, so it changes like it changes the actual condition of like the vocal cords, and there's whole courses on that because it's such a hormone target, and when you're going through ovulation, when you're breastfeeding, when you're pregnant, like your voice will change, and you got to kind of work around that and learn how to deal with that. So yeah, I think
quick question, you said earlier on, it's just going back, you said earlier on that you recovered twice from the nodules. Are there people who don't recover then?
There's different types. There's different types of nodules, and it also depends on whether people know they have them, and it depends on if people care. So often people usually get voice injuries. It can be from like really, really using the voice and really, really singing, but you're also, remember, you're using your voice all the time to speak. And I've heard from some vocal coaches that like you're more likely to damage your voice for your speaking voice.
I bet your mum gets it from teaching, because I used to in the classroom, beginning a term, really sore throat, really sore throat.
You're not used to it. You've had like a whole summer off or something, and you go back in and you're like, whoa, got to get over these kids, right? So there are different types of nodules. So the two that I had were soft tissue. So they're really, really tiny, really small, and they're soft. So you can get rid of those just by doing speech and language therapy exercises. And they help to smooth and flatten, and resting. So the second time I had them, I was doing Shrek down here, the musical, and I was Dragon, and I had to do a month of silent rehearsals, which was crazy, like the most weird.
That is
It
weird.
was really weird. And then I was like, I'm going to know my harmonies come show week. And I got on stage and I was like, I'm just going to sing the tune. Don't tell the MD, please. But yeah, so like, I've completely forgotten my thread. What was I talking about?
Oh, this happens to me all the time.
Yeah,
I
this
don't
happens
worry
to me
about it.
all the
Talking, I think, and your voice and resting your voice and the nodules and how you heal from them.
Oh, yeah. So you've got those soft ones and you go through rest and you go through speech and lang, and they heal up fine, and it's totally fine. You do get hard ones as well, which are kind of calloused, where you've continued to sing on these soft tissue nodules. And the way that they form, if you imagine your vocal folds are like that, so they sit in your throat and they join at the front and they come together. Where they swell and bow when they get tired, they'll touch at a point kind of like that instead of coming together flat because they're swollen. And where that point touches each side is where the nodule will start.
So it really is like lifting weights, isn't it? Where you get calluses from doing a pull-up or from holding weights. Where
it's just from that constant touching.
That's
and you've got to remember
crazy.
your vocal folds will, in higher ranges, will be vibrating together, touching together 2,000 times a second. So that's a lot of touching happening.
Yeah.
Right?
So especially if they're dry from drinking, that's going to be
Dry
even
from
worse.
drinking, you've got all of the, sometimes, so heavy drinking can like really detrimentally affect the mucosa, where the mucosa starts to break down and these toxins can start to get into the deep soft tissue. So you have all of that stuff as well. And then if you're adding on top of that you're tired, so maybe the coordination, or you're foggy headed from drinking, so the muscular coordination also isn't quite there. It all starts to kind of link up and feed together. And I'm not ever gonna say that, people that drink too much are all gonna get nodules, because it's just not the case. And some people that have got really good vocal health will still end up getting a vocal injury because it's so many factors come into play with the voice.
But you can certainly improve your chances.
Yeah, 100%. If you're struggling with your voice, I get a lot of singers come to me and say like, oh, I do a gig and then the next day, I feel like I can't sing. And you've got to really look at like, okay, what's your vocal health like? What's your sleep hygiene like? What's your oral hygiene like? Are you drinking alcohol when you're at a gig? Are you talking in your breaks and shouting? Like, talking in your breaks in a loud environment when you're a singer is a little bit like running a marathon, and then in between running another marathon, like continuing to run.
Yeah, getting on the treadmill for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So like, I always think like, you don't want to come across rude. You want to be social and you want your audience to like you when you're on stage. So just go outside where it's quiet.
Be a silent performer in your intervals.
Yeah. It's like, just like mime it.
I have never thought about it like that ever. It's so interesting.
There's no wonder so many singers get called ignorant, is there, when people try and speak to them off stage, because they're probably just trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
100%.
It's really tough because you don't want to come across as a dick either.
Charlotte, let me ask you one more thing. I know I said one more thing a minute ago. In terms of your voice coaching, do you coach all ages? Is it just women? Is it men? What's kind of the people you coach, and where can people find out about that as well, please?
So I coach at my husband's. So I've got a little studio on the side of my husband's recording studio in Plympton, in Plymouth. The studio is called Momentum Studios. And you can find a link to my teaching through that. You can also find me on CA Vocal Coaching, at CA Vocal Coaching on Instagram. You can also find me on Ocean City Sober, which is my new sober page, which also links to my coaching. Ocean City Sober, because Plymouth is the ocean city. So I thought I'd steal it. I do teach all age groups, but in my private coaching, I like to kind of teach them like 11 upwards. I teach all genders and very, very inclusive. So very, very pro LGBTQIA+ community as well.
I don't remember all those letters.
I don't. There's a lot more letters been added on there.
I was like, whoa, how did you do that?
So we are a safe space for people of that community as well. And I teach anything. So if you come to me and you love musical theatre, that's obviously what I'm kind of trained in, but also as a professional singer, I sing more pop and soul and country. But if you come to me and you love rap, I also love rapping. So we can learn rap. If you love black metal, if you like growling, like whatever it is that you like to do is what I want.
Wait.
She's gone with the growling.
Lisa wants to know about growling now. I know what's just happened. You've just triggered something. She can't hear anything else apart from growling.
So like within rock music, so there's like lots of different types of metal and rock, and some of them will use like screaming, and which is like a distorted voice quality, and some of them will use like growling. So screaming is more like high, mid to high, and
So
then
like Disturbed do that, don't they? There's the band Disturbed do that.
Yeah. There's a band called Opeth who also do there's loads, but like for me, Opeth is the one that like you can hear really efficient, like growly screaming happening, because when he then sings in his clean voice, like his normal singing voice, it's like beautifully clean and like
wow,
unhindered.
What if I've got like a hidden talent at singing?
There you go. You wouldn't
I just don't know what type of singing it is.
Do you know what, Lisa? This brings me back to the beginning as well. Do you know, like we're doing that bee workshop? We're going to paint a bee, draw a bee this weekend as one of our events, and one of the ladies on Bee Fit this morning.
Better than it sounds.
To Bee Fit, it is going to be better than it sounds.
I love bees. We have bees, so I'm on 4 bees.
We're coming back to what we talked about at the beginning. So one of the ladies on Bee Fit this morning said that she was so excited when she'd gone in to do, I think it was GCSE art, and she'd gone into the classroom, and the teacher said that she had to leave and join food tech. And since then, she just knows she can't draw. And I thought, what if she can actually draw? But it's never been developed because the horrible art teacher wouldn't let her try it out. And that might be you with your singing, Lisa. Perhaps you just believe you can't sing.
I've practiced like alone making different noises.
Yeah,
I'll bet you have.
What I mean? Like, what if it's like my talking voice and there's something like else in there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do opera singers find out? Like, to me, doing an operatic kind of song would feel so uncomfortable, but actually I think I'd be better at it. And me and Olivia, every Christmas in the car, she loves it. So this is my youngest daughter, and she's 18 now, but we still do it every Christmas. We go and see some lights near us, and we play Christmas tunes, and we play Silent Night, and we do like this harmony, me and Olivia in the car, just us two. And every time we do it, we go, that was really good. Do it again. And I'm like, what? So, but we really exaggerate it because we've got the confidence to do it in the car together. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, we think it sounds good. It might not. But what if it is just confidence, or I'm not knowing how to make the right sounds?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that so often is the case. Like, I obviously work in my studio. When people come to me, they normally have a bit of an idea that I get people that go on tour, or I get like students that are training to do drama school auditions, or I get, kids that are doing the lead in their amateur society, if they're doing Matilda or they're doing Oliver or something. So I get people usually who kind of come along and they like already know and they want to work on this, right? But often I'll get people that are like, I just really like singing. I just want to have a little sing and I want to just see what I've got and see where we can go. And it is that thing of like, you said, like, you're working with these sounds, just random sounds by yourself. That is how we teach so much singing, is we use this thing called unfinished sounds or play sounds or primal sounds. So these are different sounds that we can make, a little bit like how my singing teacher did when I had like anxiety, and she was like, let's just do some like sliding up and down and see where your voice goes and feel the resonance. Like, we can use these sounds to kind of teach different areas of the voice, because like your voice is a bit like an orchestra, and you sing different parts of it in a different way. So you're not going to sing your top soprano stuff like you sing your bottom alto-y stuff, or you're not going to sing your bass stuff like you sing, like tenor. People that sing in their tenor register and people that sing in their bass registers will have different ways of working their voices, right? So you can make probably way more sounds than you realize, but you've got to know how to like play each part efficiently to make it kind of balance. And so like, so often this is the main one I get, especially from teenage girls, but from a lot of female clients that I have, will say, oh yeah, no, I can't sing high pitched. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's play around with it. And it is that thing of playing and having fun with it. And we'll play around and we'll make some silly sounds up here or make some other silly sounds like more in the middle, and then we'll go back up again. And what they start to realize is that like the reason they think they can't sing high pitched is because they don't speak there. And where we feel most comfortable is like where we speak, right? And then to go up there, you either have to be making a silly sound or mimicking an opera singer or, you know, pretending to be or whatever it is. And then suddenly you already have that sound that you know that is right in your head, because everybody knows how to like mimic an opera singer when they're being silly. Mimicking and learning these sounds is a really good way of learning how to sing. That's why when people say, oh, don't sing like that because you don't want to mimic Adele, or oh, don't sing like that, you don't want to mimic Dua Lipa or Pavarotti or, you know, Billy Joel. Well, why not? Because they've got loads of colours in their voice that you're going to be learning from mimicking them. Like, obviously, don't just try and be Adele unless you want to be an Adele tribute, which again isn't amazing. But like, you know, learn from other singers, mimic their sounds, play with their sounds, because Lisa, you never know what you may find.
I know.
Unleash the inner Pavarotti, Lisa.
I'm going to go and play. I'm going to go and play around with my voice. You
should like hum or or like do something.
I do like humming. I love humming.
I could never hold an on when I go to yoga and it'd be like I would always be the first one to like bottom out, and I'd be like, oh.
No, I like a good
but try it against like your singing bowls. Like try it against them and see if you can harmonize or find similar resonance. Sit on the same pitch, because you know that's something you really enjoy. It's non-pressure, it's relaxing, and you can kind of commune with it a bit, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to play around with that. There's a few people that do sound healing with the voice. And I had it done once when I was at, we went to a rave years ago, a morning rave, a sober one. It was one of Be Sober's first events. And there was a lady there and she was doing sound healing with her voice. It did freak me out a little bit because she spent a lot of time singing to my knee. Do you remember me telling you about it?
Yeah, I do. As soon as she said it, I thought this is the time that she had her knee sung to.
Yeah. But I get it. I get how it works.
Isn't that weird though, Lisa? Now that knee's the one that's been giving you jip.
It is, you know.
You need someone to sing to it.
But she'd kind of gone down my whole body with her voice, and I was sat there. It was really weird because there was a rave going on over there and there was food stalls over there. So it was a bit of a weird surrounding. But she'd gone down and then she spent ages at my knee singing really kind of high tones. But then at the end, like after she spent all this time on my knee, she got up and she went, what happened there? And I went, I don't know.
You tell me.
I really don't know.
She's obviously got no problem experimenting with the different sounds or different parts of the body.
No, it fascinated me. And I know that it can do it. I know that sound can shift energy, and I think we know that just through musicals or music that we like.
All it is vibrating particles. So why wouldn't it? It makes sense if your body's fluid and the air and all them things can be moved by sound. Why would it not heal? It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
In fact,
be careful when singing to people's knees.
Yeah,
I will. I'll remember that.
Charlotte, I know you've got to get off because you've got other appointments coming up and you'll want to get ready for them. But honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed doing this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, when I was texting you, when we first I was texting you while I was walking the dog in the woods. And when you were like, do you want to come on? I was like, oh my God, I feel famous. Like it was such an honor to be asked. And when I first got sober, like your guys' podcast, I think I listened to it every single day when I had my AirPod in, when I was like in the car. And some of the things that you guys would talk about and say like really, really stuck with me. And my favorite one that really stuck with me, and I was like, you know what, she's right. And I was really up in arms about it, was Lisa. She's like, what have I said?
I know, I'm really scared. I'm not going to lie.
Sweating. Lisa was talking about, I think she was talking about like a holiday when she'd been away, or like a hen do or something when you'd been away. And the line that stuck in my head was, Sambuca is fucking dangerous. And I was like, Sambuca is fucking dangerous.
It is dangerous. It is
really bad. It was mine and Lisa's night out in Manchester, and she'd got the Sambuca shots in. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I've had full blackouts from sambucas, like, and I thought I'd been drugged. I honestly thought that I'd had like a date rape drug or a drug, and I know it was sambuca. It is
Yeah.
really dangerous. So
I
I'm
used to,
glad
I
you've
used to,
reminded me of that, and we can remind
honestly,
everybody else.
it stuck with me. I want it on a mug, although I couldn't have it when I was teaching.
It's fucking
Fucking
dangerous.
dangerous on my mug.
You've got to have it in the accent though. You've got, if you're going to put it on a mug, it's got to
Yeah.
be written with Lisa's wording.
No,
I was
no.
gonna try it in my like southern accent, and then I was like, no, because when I hear it, because I often will like hear it in my head, I hear it in Lisa's voice. So I was like, no,
Oh
I've got
no,
to give it a
poor
go.
you.
Because I love your accents so much, they're so nice. But yeah, that really stuck with me, and so much of your stories, and like I can't believe you guys are like, is it 6 and 7 years sober? Like
5
it's
and 6. So
5
Lisa's
and
a year
6.
ahead,
It's
yeah.
like, it's really, really inspiring, and it's just every day is like a little micro habit. So staying sober is like a micro habit that over time just builds into better stuff. So you may not notice it straight away. You may not wake up and be like, whoa, I feel so great. Like, but over time, bit by bit, the more you're investing in yourself daily. And that can only like lead to really good things. So if you're a singer and you wanna like, you know, try being sober, I can tell you that like it has only been positive, and it will only make your voice absolutely soar. So absolutely go for it. Go for it.
What they should do,
Brilliant.
Charlotte, to finish is do our sober experiment. And when they've done the 30 days, invest in an amazing vocal coach. Just saying.
They should.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
They absolutely should, because
Do that instead of going premium on Spotify.
It would change so much. It would change so much about their voice, and they'll be more in tune with their voice, and they'll be more in tune with their body, and your body is your voice. So do it.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Please let us know when you're in Liverpool. We would absolutely love to come and see you and meet you
I
in
would
real life.
love
It'd
to
be
see.
amazing.
I'd love to see you guys, just so I can listen to your voices in real life, if anything.
Oh,
Well,
God.
likewise, we want to listen to your voice in real life. There you go.
I'm going to go and stalk all your Instagrams right now.
And we'll put the links
go.
on. If there's any links in particular you want us to share, just pop them over to me and we'll get them on. But you'll have to be quick because we literally write the show notes now.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, we
I'll
do.
it. I'll be walking down
We
to my
spend
studio.
the next
like,
few hours doing podcast only. So
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and I hope you have a lovely day.
You too.
Oh, and you, Charlotte. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah,
Your
you too.
husband and the dog. See you
Yeah,
later.
yeah,
Yes,
lovely.
everyone's been on. I'll see you guys soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See the dog wagging its